Now, yesterday, ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule caused a stir with his comments at an impromptu media doorstop during a courtesy visit to the home of the late struggle hero, Rebecca Kotane. Now, answering reporters' questions, he defended the former President Jacob Zuma, saying he'd done nothing wrong by stating that he would defy a constitutional court order to appear before the Zondo inquiry. Let's listen in.
Just one, SG, just to perhaps ask one. Without now this mean that you would perhaps be in a position to discuss with both the current president and the former president to try and find what could be an amicable solution so that there is abidance to the constitution at least?
Don't worry too much about the constitution. That's why I say at some stage we will talk about what is happening in South Africa today.
The ANC Secretary General will be joining us shortly, but in studio with us is our politics editor, Ngalwa. Sbu, good to have you with us as well this afternoon. Let's talk about why there was such a commotion around the utterings of the Secretary General yesterday. Why what he said about don't pay too much attention to the Constitution, why that really seemed to be a focus of attention.
I think for two reasons, Thami. One being the fact that obviously the Constitution is the one supreme document and guiding document of this country. And more importantly, the ANC is not just a signatory to that Constitution. The ANC was instrumental in crafting that very Constitution, which came into effect in 1996. So to have the Chief Administrator of the ANC, a member of the top six, and a senior leader and Secretary General saying, "Don't worry about the Constitution," that doesn't bode well for the respect for the Constitution and for the rule of law. Hence, I think it is important that the ANC Secretary General perhaps amplifies or even clarifies his utterances. Secondly, Thami, the reality is that that question was also born out of the recent developments where the former president, Jacob Zuma, has actually gone out to say that he will defy the Constitutional Court directive that he must appear before the Zondo Commission and that he will not appear before the Zondo Commission. Now, that is problematic on two fronts. One, Jacob Zuma is not just any ordinary member of the public. He is a former president of South Africa. So, as Mambaleka Mbete was saying here, about how unfortunate his utterances were and how unfortunate his stance is about, it's also about respect for the rule of law, in that a country and a functional participatory democracy is founded on the three pillars, strong pillars of the judiciary, the parliament, and also the executive. So it's important that they all function at the same time and they're all respected.
Well, we did hear from the ANC spokesperson, Pule Mabe, who gave clarity on that. But also, perhaps even more important, is to speak to the ANC Secretary General himself, Mr. Ace Magashule, who joins us now. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Magashule, and thank you very much for your time today. Perhaps let's start with the issue that we are currently discussing. Yesterday, when you were outside the house of Mayor Kotane, you were asked by one of our reporters, Pilani Pakhadi, and the question that he posed to you was, are you, as the ANC Secretary General, along with the President of the African National Congress and the President of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, going to talk to President Jacob Zuma to try and get an amicable solution out of the impasse that currently exists with him and the State Capture Commission of Inquiry? And would you try and do this in a way that would still be in line with the Constitution? Your response to that was, don't worry too much about the Constitution. Granted, that was just part of your response. But what did you mean by that statement?
No, I don't know what context you say in that. I think I've been interviewed by various media papers and stations, and you guys are reporting different things. I made it clear that in terms of the Constitution of South Africa, President Zuma has his own rights as an individual within the context of the Constitution. And I've never said that people must ignore the Constitution of the country. And I've said differing with judges doesn't actually show any disrespect in a democratic South Africa. And I made it very clear that these are some of the ANC matters, and the ANC internal matters will be discussed by the ANC. So as to whether we will meet with President Zuma, leave it to the ANC, because the leader of the ANC, President Ramaphosa, I'm sure, and all of us will do what we are supposed to do in terms of engaging from time to time different members of the ANC.
So the words, "don't worry too much about the Constitution," did come out of your mouth. So what did you mean by that particular statement?
No, I said the media has a particular, not all media, but you can see the narrative which has been pumped is that there is disrespect for the Constitution, which I don't think is the case. And I said, just give Comrade President Zuma space, and then all other matters will actually be engaged on. So the media reports whatever they want to report. But I'm happy that other media have actually captured it very right. And I think I have listened to all media outlets in terms of what I said yesterday.
Mr. Magashule, you said that you do not believe that the statements or the stance of the former president is disrespect for the Constitution, but the Constitution did direct him to appear before the Zondo Commission, which he says he will not do. Isn't that disrespect for the Constitution and the Constitutional Court?
I said, and I made it very clear, I can't speak on behalf of President Zuma. I'm sure he can speak to you guys. And that's why I said, give him space, and give the ANC space to discuss ANC matters. The media must not actually put a particular agenda and direct the pace and tempo of what the ANC and what we are supposed to be saying. So there is no one who has actually said don't respect the Constitution of the country. There isn't such. And I make it very clear that just respect also individual rights in a democratic South Africa.
All right, Mr. Magashule, not to labor the point, but if we could just for a moment just replay that clip, because interpretation here is also very key. So if we could just replay that moment yesterday for your benefit and for all of our benefits. Let's listen in once again.
Just one more, just to perhaps ask one. Without now this mean that you would perhaps be in a position to discuss with both the current president and the former president to try and find what could be an amicable solution so that there is abidance to the Constitution at least?
Don't worry too much about the Constitution. That's why I say at some stage we will talk about what is happening in South Africa today.
Mr. Magashule, that is the clip that we were referring to. Explain to us what you meant there. If indeed, what you were saying is not what you meant, what did you mean?
I said, for now, because we are asking about President Zuma, I said, let's not focus on any other thing, including the Constitution. Let's focus on what President Zuma has and what the rights of President Zuma is in a democratic South Africa. There is nothing wrong, I've said.
What, in your opinion, Mr. Magashule, would be perhaps the best way to deal with the current situation that the ANC is finding itself in? Former President Jacob Zuma saying he will not appear before the commission, thus in defiance with the Constitution. What would be the best way forward to both maintain the integrity of the Constitution and also maintain the integrity of the party and what it stands for?
Let's talk about the integrity of everybody, individuals, the Constitution, as well as the ANC. And I can't talk on behalf of a collective when the collective has not actually yet discussed this matter. And therefore, please, let's then respect all the rights, be it the Constitution, be it individuals, be it whatever integrity you are talking about. And maybe it's better if you also interview President Zuma, because I'm sure President Zuma can talk for himself
but,
as former president of the country.
But Mr. Magashule, you are saying that you are not speaking for the collective, but the reality is that your position is SG. You are also the chief spokesperson of the party, and the ANC has taken decisions in 2 of its recent meetings that I can recall. The few recent cabinet NEC Lekgotla and the last NEC meeting of last year, where it restated its position on the support for the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. Why then can you not just restate the party's position in so far as this is concerned?
Haven't I shown any respect for the Zondo Commission?
No, I'm talking in reference to President Zuma's stance. He is a member of the ANC. He is an ex-officio member of the NEC. He sat actually in those 2 recent NEC meetings where that decision was taken. So my question then becomes, why can you not then just restate that position here in reference to President Zuma?
Don't want me to state positions you actually want. We have actually, as the ANC said, we respect the Zondo Commission. I don't know what position you want me to further restate. And I say Zuma can actually talk for himself as former president of the country. Why don't you interview him?
But can the ANC not speak on its president, to its former member, or restate its position? This is not just an ordinary member of the public. It is Jacob Zuma after all.
Any member of the ANC, in terms of the same constitutional court, said the member has certain rights and the member can say whatever. You remember there was that case, Ramakatsa versus the Free State ANC, Magashule and others. And there is nowhere that individual members of the ANC cannot actually express their own views. I don't see any contradiction with what I'm saying.
We spoke a bit earlier on to the SACP's Solima Paila, who said that he also believes, like every other South African citizen, that former President Jacob Zuma has his right, which he has exercised, to not appear before the court. But his view was that the Constitutional Court perhaps could have interrogated his concerns a bit deeper and with more insight, because this is a case that can set a precedent. What are your views on the way that the Constitutional Court has dealt with former President Jacob Zuma's request or appeal?
Well, let me not get into any view on the Constitutional Court, because you guys project run a story, a narrative where it looks like we are not respecting the Constitutional Court when we express certain views. So allow me not to comment, lest the narrative will that Magashule does not respect the Constitutional Court and the Constitution. There isn't such. I've never said such things. So I'm sure Comrade Soli has put, and you are actually putting clearly the context. And I think I agree with the context of Comrade Soli Mapaila.
And one thing, Mr. Magashule, is there is no narrative except what it is that is being discussed. And really the platform is for you to share your views and to express yourself in the best way that you know how. Not that you say something and then it is twisted as you are alluding to. The platform is here for you to say what it is that you believe, and that is exactly what it is that we will broadcast. If you could kindly stay on hold for a while, we're just going to be going to a quick break and then continue with our conversation. We are in conversation with the African National Congress Secretary General, Mr. Ace Magashule. Please stay with us. Good to have you with us this afternoon. This is your daytime update in conversation with the ANC Secretary General, Mr. Ace Magashule, along with our political editor, Ngalwa. Thank you for your time, Mr. Magashule. I'd like to ask you about your thoughts. The former president has said that he doesn't mind going to jail. How do you believe that will be the impact on the African National Congress and even the party, should that actually end up being the case?
I can't talk on behalf of President Zuma. I'm sure you have heard him loud and clear. And it's not in parables. So I don't know what you want me to say about what former president of the country have said.
I'm actually asking you, Mr. Magashule, not to speak on behalf of the former president, but what I'm asking you is, if that were the case, if he were to go to jail, how would that impact the party that you are literally CEO of?
I don't know. Maybe you will know better. I leave it to members of society and the ANC members. I don't know what the impact will be. I'm sure you can guess what the impact will be. As an analyst, as a journalist, a person who's objective, I'm sure you can find your analysis and make objective outcomes about what the statement and what President Zuma have said, if that actually happens.
Mr. Magashule, you are very close to President Zuma, both as comrades, but also as the Secretary General of the ANC. And he has repeatedly said, and particularly in this case, that he is being unfairly treated by the courts. What do you think of that? Do you share a similar view?
I am close to all presidents of the ANC who have been elected by conferences. I've been close to Comrade Mandela, I've been close to Comrade Mbeki, I've been close to Comrade Zuma. I'm close because of my position and working with the collective of the ANC. So I don't have any special relationship with President Zuma. I've known the leaders for all the years. I've been in as early as 1994 until today. I've served under all those presidents, and I respect all of them.
He says he has been unfairly treated. I just wanted your opinion on that.
What do you think, my brother?
I'm looking for your opinion on this particular one, Mr. Magashule.
What do you think when you look at South African developments? As a journalist, as a person who can analyze, what is your view? Maybe I can turn and become a journalist now and ask you.
I think for the benefit of our viewers, it becomes important. I can always share my views, perhaps at a later stage, but I think for this particular moment that we have you here, to actually hear your opinions, I think I'm sure our viewers would also benefit from that.
You see, when I express my opinion, you are going to say I'm Secretary General. When I express views of the collective, let me not express any view on this matter and leave it to the public and the general South African population and ANC membership as a whole, and yourself as journalist to do your own analysis and arrive at different scenarios and views. Let me leave it in your court. I think it is better for me to, because you have views, and I've said look at the situation of South Africa, and maybe when time permits, we will talk about what's happening in South Africa. That's what I've said yesterday.
And you did say that yesterday, and you've also said it previous times as well. It's actually something as well that the former president has said. You said, look at what's going on in the country. What is going on in the country from your perspective? What is it that we ought to be looking at?
Are you serious that you can't see what is happening in South Africa today?
There is a lot happening, but I'm quite interested to find out what you are seeing, what you are referring to.
No, I want you to open your eyes, and I'm sure your eyes are open. It's just that at times you don't want to accept a situation as it's happening, and And if you can just be objective in whatever you do as journalists, I'm sure you can better understand what is actually taking place in South Africa today. We'll talk about it when I'm ready to do so.
And you've said this quite a lot, and I think it leaves a lot for South Africans to ponder about and to contemplate, and it also leads to a lot of speculation, you know, dangling the carrot stick in front of us and saying we must wait for a time and a place when you are ready to do so. Under what circumstances will you be ready? What will be the right time?
Can't you see the destruction of black business, destruction of African companies? Can't you see that there is entrenchment of monopoly in South Africa today? Is it not too obvious that black people are being excluded in the mainstream economy? Does it need any science?
And who is behind this?
Can't you see black excellence not being recognized today?
And who's behind this, Secretary General?
I leave it to you to analyze.
Mr. Magashule, you have said that your views have been misconstrued, and in particular in relation to what your utterance is about the Constitution. Can you restate your position on the Constitution as the supreme law of this country?
My position and that position of the ANC is that the Constitution is an important document. And when people express different views in terms of the Constitution, remember the Constitution is not sacrosanct. The Constitution can be changed. You're talking as if people can't actually say anything on the Constitution. And that's why there is, for instance, a demand that we must actually amend Section 25 of the Constitution in terms of expropriation of the land. Remember, during negotiation, we arrive at a particular time. We arrive in terms of our Constitution. This is where we are. And the view was that Magashule disrespect the Constitution. There isn't such a thing. There isn't such a thing. Myself as an individual, I have respected the Constitution, and where the Constitution allows us to do certain things. The supreme law of the country is the Constitution. But you at times use the Constitution to suit whatever you want actually to ask us. So let me make it very clear to you. I respect the Constitution. I respect the Zondo Commission. I respect all institutions. And where we have differences with such institutions, one will express his or her view. And that doesn't mean disrespect for the Constitution in a democracy.
Speaking of the Zondo Commission, the ANC will be appearing before the Zondo Commission, I think at a date set for March. Can you just make it clear here today that will you, as the SG of the ANC, be leading that delegation, respecting that very institution by going to appear before the Zondo Commission?
Leave it to the ANC to express its view at the right time.
But the ANC says it respects the Zondo Commission, and Judge Zondo has already said that the ANC will appear before the Commission. Surely that should not be a difficult position for you to express.
So what is your problem?
Because it's whether you will lead that delegation.
What's the problem? What is the problem? Because the ANC has said, yes, whenever it's called to Zondo Commission, it will do so. The ANC has never changed that position. Okay. I don't know why you are posing the question. Because the position of the ANC is clear.
We'll take that then as a confirmation, Secretary General, that indeed the ANC will be appearing before the Commission. Before we let you go, you have been rearing yourself for the 19th of February. How are preparations coming for that appearance?
What preparations? I'm not preparing for anything.
Aren't you going to court?
That, well, I'll go to court. So I will wait until the 19th and I'll go to court. I'm definitely sure that even until today, we don't know the charges, except that it's oversight.
All right, we'll leave it at that for this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and clarifying the statements that were made yesterday. That's the ANC's Secretary General, Mr. Ace Magashule.